Welcome, selectors, to Weekly Wharf Wixoss. We have an exciting one for you today. Midoriko Dispersal Three and her army of Lupals versus the radiant Yuzuki Brilliant Surflame Beauty. Who will be left standing after the dust clears? Find out coming up next. Welcome to the Gamers Wharf in Grandville, Michigan. Here, our selectors will do battle to determine this week's Weekly Wharf Wixoss champion. Let's take a look at our challenger on the blue side. Here we have Yuzuki Brilliant Surflame Beauty, an aggressive Elrig who breaks her own life cloth so that she can make her allies assassins. She also has access to the very powerful Fesonne magic crafts. Assisting her is Mel for some enter and some late game protection, and Eldora for some card draw and some life burst manipulation. Very exciting deck. I can't wait to see it in action. Now let's take a look at her opponent on the red side. Midoriko Dispersal Three is a go big or go home mid-range Elrig. By making her allies huge, she makes them very aggressive, but also protects them from many popular forms of removal. For her assists, we have Deus with her removal and large shield at the end of the game, and Tamago for her multiple sources of card draw and Signy manipulation. Before we begin, here's a few guidelines to keep in mind. These are casual matches played at our weekly event. Any mistakes are usually corrected if we catch them, but we might miss one or two here and there. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. We welcome your feedback on any ways we can improve future matches. Finally, let us know if there's any Elrigs you'd like to see on the next episode of Weekly Wharf Wixoss. With that being said, we hope you enjoy this week's edition of Weekly Wharf Wixoss. The selectors are ready, the Elrigs are raring to go. So let's get ready to battle! Open! Blue has won the dice roll and will be going first. Sorry for the glare on the bottom half of the screen. I will do my best to narrate the cards being played there. Blue will start by enter charging Diabride and then growing Yuzuki to level 1. The first play of the game is Grandville Dissona, a 3k power Signy that at the end of the turn will make a Servant 0 1000 power Signy in one of the other two lanes. A great way to block two lanes while only using one card. Red starts their turn by enter charging Exia and growing Midoriko to level 1, followed by an immediate grow of Tamago to level 1 to draw two cards. They must be looking for a specific starter card here. They play Dissona, a 3k that at the end of the turn will flip a top card. If it is a Dissona, will grow 5k during their opponent's turn, followed by Paching that can buff a Dissona Signy 5k. Red swings in the center lane to clear the Carnival, and then swings in the bottom to hit for the first life cloth damage of the game, which ends up being not a burst. Next we have attack from Midoriko, no servant, and we have a burst, but there's nothing in the trash. Top card is flipped, and it is a Ivy Dissona, so Nova gets plus 5k until the end of Blue's next turn. After the first rounds of attacks, Midoriko has gotten 2 damage through to Yuzuki. Looks like Blue does not enter charge this turn and uses the Servant to grow to level 2. And now we have Eldora level 1 to draw 2 cards. Now it's Blue's turn to go looking for the right card. We have a Wawolf in the bottom lane. If you put a Dissona card from her enter zone into the trash, she gets Lancer, as long as her opponent's Signy is level 1 or less. Way to sneak damage through on these early turns. That Servant 0 is still chilling up in the top lane. I wonder if it'll sneak some damage through. And then in the center lane, we have a Comedy. When she attacks, reveal a top card. If it's a Dissona, either draw or enter charge 1. Comedy flips an Emergence, which will go to hand. Next, the Wawolf will swing in the bottom lane, lancering through the Paching For our first red damage of the game, it is a burst, but there's nothing in the trash, so no effect here. And hey, we have the attack from the Servant Zero, swinging for a burst. Lupal Dissona. Her burst is draw a card and enter charge 2. That is a very good burst to get early game. And now we have an attack from Yuzuki, which is guarded by a servant. A pretty even first couple of attacks here. Both Elrigs are sitting at 2 life cloth damage. Red chooses to enter charge from the field. A good play if you're looking to play 3 Signy from your hand this turn. Then pays an Ivy Dissona from enter to grow to level 2. Red then plays a Wall Wolf in the top lane, giving it Lancer. This might spell the end for our Servant Zero friend. Next we have Midoriko Dissona. By paying a Dissona from enter, she can neg 3k a Signy on the field. Finally, red plays a Comedy in the center lane to fight the other Comedy. After the Signy are played, Emergence is now played, choosing to enter charge from the top, and it is another Emergence. Not the ideal card you want to see, as you can't pull it out of enter easily. Next, red trashes the Midoriko on the field and plays an Ivy. Makes a better body and gives more enter during the attack phase. We are moving on to the attack phase. Looks like red missed an Ivy trigger. Blue plays Eldora on stage, which adds a burst icon to the next 2 cards revealed from Life Cloth. The Comedy fights the other Comedy and reveals a Paching, which goes into enter. Next, the Wall Wolf attacks, lancering over that Servant Zero, RIP, revealing an Emergence. This life burst lets you enter charge 1 and then return a Signy from your enter zone to your hand or put it onto the field. Blue chooses to put Lalaru into hand. Additionally, chooses to down the Ivy with the Eldora second burst effect. They do stack. Finally, Midoriko herself attacks, revealing an opening signal life burst. This vanishes a up Signy, which there are none, but the Eldora effect gives it a draw 2 effect. And the turn passes back over to Yuzuki. Grandville Dissona is enter charged, and we are growing to level 3. When Yuzuki enters, she crushes one of her own life cloth, which does trigger its effects, but puts an opponent's life cloth directly into the trash, which does not trigger their effects. This will allow Yuzuki to use her assassin making ability. No bursts on either side. Next, Mel Revise comes down, which will return 2 non-servant cards from trash to the enter zone. Next, blue is paying 3 to play Connect Spinning, a modular piece that lets you choose up to 3 options based on the number of levels your Elrig is. For the first effect, they elect to vanish the Comedy in the center lane. For the other effect, they elect to discard 2 cards to crush a life cloth, which is a Lupal, which is another draw card, enter charge 2. They elect to not use either of the other 2 modes as they don't want to discard cards, and the enter burn effect will not affect Midoriko as she's only level 2. They play a Lalaru in the bottom lane, which at the beginning of the attack phase will enter burn if a spell is played this turn, and a Diabride in the top lane, which offers some protection for red Signy, and a Wall Wolf in the middle without Lancer. Blue then decides to exceed for Yuzuki to get the Fesonne Magic Crafts. Let's see which ones they pick. We have Jade, which allows for enter charging and then Signy manipulation in the enter zone, and Blue, which allows for draw discard. Fesonne Magic Jade is now played, which will enter charge and then put the Signy onto the field. There will be a little bit of a fix here, as these are casual matches, so the Diabride will change into a Mel, and the Diabride will go back to hand to be played later. The Mel is then awakened, which will allow enter charge 2 at the beginning of the attack phase. As Yuzuki is at 2 or less life cloth, she will now give Assassin to Lalaru, allowing for more damage to sneak in through the Ivy. We are moving on to the attack phase. Mel enter charges 2. Red then plays Tamago, Jet Stick, which will down a Signy on the opponent's field, and then paying the 1 to draw 2 cards. Choosing to down the Lalaurie to prevent the assassin from sneaking through. Mel then attacks in the top lane, vanishing in front of her. When she vanishes, she can pick up a Signy from the enter zone to hand. Looks like the choice is Flathrow. Wolf attacks it in the center lane, and we have no burst there. Followed up by Yuzuki attacking, and we have a guard for that, so no damage there. The turn then passes over, with both life cloths sitting at 2. Very, very close game here. Red then enter charges from the field. Midoriko then grows to level 3. Midoriko offers a static 5k buff in the center lane. Then at the beginning of the attack phase, if there's 2 or more Dissona Signy on the field, you can enter charge 1, then grab a Signy from the enter zone to hand. Next, Dave's Drive comes out to vanish the Lalaurie. Red then plays their first piece of the game, Sunspot Memory. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck and grab a Dissona card, then gain a Signy and Elric Barrier. Very defensive card. A little bit of extra protection never hurt anyone. The chosen card is a Comedy. Please excuse the incorrect tokens being used in the gameplay. The wrong tokens were used. Check the left-hand corner for the correct tokens. They will be fixed later in the game. A Lupal Dissona now comes out. This is Midoriko's signature card. More on that later. A Comedy is played in the top lane, and a Wolf Dissona is played in the bottom lane. Midoriko then goes for her Exceed 4. This gives her entire board plus 10k until the end of their opponent's next turn, effectively building a massive wall that is almost impossible to get through without straight vanish effects. Lupal's effects are as long as she has power 30k or more, she cannot gain abilities from her opponent. Also, whenever the Signy attacks, if Midoriko is your center, vanish target Signy in your opponent's field with power that is half of the Signy's power or less. Finally, she can buff herself 5k for 1 enter. Blue then plays their final assist, Mel Invisible, preventing up to the next 2 sources of damage, not paying for the third. Lupal then attacks, vanishing the Wall Wolf in front of her and eating the Mel. This is because Mel is only a 10k. Comedy then swings, hitting the first damage prevention. A trigger was missed when this Comedy attacked. VJ Wolf then breaks the final damage prevention barrier, and Midoriko attacks for damage, and we have a burst, which is discard a card to vanish at 12k or less, but as the board is much larger than that, it has no effect. Of these buffs, only Lupal's self buff will fall off. This will leave Comedy at 15k, Lupal at 25k, and VJ Wolf at 18k. Blue then plays Brain Hearts, their second piece, drawing 2 cards and discarding a card. If the discarded card is a Dissona card, vanish target Signy on the field. Good way to take care of the 25k in the center. The discarded card was an Opening Salvo, not the best card since it only vanishes at 10k or less. Next, an Emergence is played to pick up the Lalaurie out of the enter zone. Blue is probably looking for a level 2 to fill out their board. The Lalaurie is then played in the center zone. And then the second Fesonne Magicraft Blue is played to draw 3 cards and discard 2 cards. Yuzuki is really trying to find the perfect answer here by digging through their deck. Ideally, they're trying to sneak damage through where they can. They're not going to get over every single blocker. Flathrow is then played in the top lane. If Yuzuki has 6 or more cards in hand, they could discard all the cards to potentially crush another life cloth. Diabride is played in the bottom lane for a little bit more protection for these red Signy. Diabride's Enter effect is now played, discarding a card to look at the top 2 cards, choose one, and put the other in the trash. Yuzuki then gives Diabride Assassin to sneak through this 18k. Moving on to the start of the attack phase, Flathrow's trigger is not activated, but since a spell was cast this turn, 1 enter is going to be burned. Midoriko chooses not to use Deus Shield. We have an underswing in the top lane. In the bottom lane, Diabride will assassin through to break that Signy barrier. And the Laluru will swing undefended in the center for no burst. Yuzuki will then swing to break that Elrig barrier, and we are tied at 1 life cloth each. What an amazing game. What is your favorite moment so far? And who do you think will take it home? Comment below with your pick. VJ Wolf is enter charged from the field. And that is another Lupal in the center. That is not what Blue wanted to see. A Paching is played, which will give Lupal another 5k buff. Using the once per turn trash, we'll trash Comedy and Paching. And then red goes searching with their last piece, Dissonance, adding up to 2 target Dissona from trash to hand. Red picks up a Musica Dissona and another Paching. Musica Dissona will be played using her ability to give Flathrow minus 3k to bring her down to a 7k. There will be Enterburn from the Diabride. Red looks to be setting up for something. And there it is, Akino Dissona. At the beginning of the attack phase, you can discard a card and bounce something 8k or less. You can also discard a Servant to bounce anything, but I'm assuming Red does not have a Servant right now. Diabride's trigger is only once per turn, so no additional Enterburn here. Red then pays 2 to buff Lupal up twice to 30k. We are moving to the attack phase, and Akino is going to bounce that Flathrow. 1 lane is open in the top, but will that be enough? Lupal then swings in the middle, vanishing that Diabride with her ability. There are now 2 avenues to attack. That last life cloth better be a very good burst. Musica swings next, and it is not a burst, meaning Akino comes in for the final hit. Your winner today is Midoriko on the red side. Congratulations. That was an excellent game. Looking at the scoreboard, Midoriko was actually behind in life bursts, but managed to pull it out there in the end. That extra shield and those giant Lupals really turned the tide. I would like to thank you for watching this edition of Weekly Wharf Wixoss. Hope you enjoyed, and catch you on the next one.